Hello, welcome back to Career Growth with Karen. Thank you. If you are joining us for the very first time, you're welcome. If you're coming back from any of our previous episodes, welcome again. I am happy to have you here. My name is Karen Olege, a career coach and strategist. So, what are we discussing in today's episode? This one you're gonna love. It's about how to negotiate for a pay rise with your current employer. In some of the past episodes, I think last week we did an episode on how to negotiate for a salary at the time of your interview, that is before you join this organization. But today I've realized there are some of you who want to negotiate the pay. You're already in the job, you've been working there 2 years, 3 years, 10 years, and now you want to negotiate for a pay rise because you feel it is time I move on to a higher level. So how do you go about that? Welcome to Career Growth with Karen. This is where we have conversation on how to empower ourselves in our careers, how to make the most out of our skills and live fulfilling, rewarding, and progressive career lives. Karibu sana, subscribe to this channel, like our content, share, leave a comment below, engage with us on our social media platforms. I am Karen Olege on LinkedIn and Career Growth with Karen on Instagram and on TikTok. Also remember that every Wednesday, and that is tomorrow evening at 8 p.m. East Africa time, we have LinkedIn Lives, Instagram Live. So if you're there on LinkedIn, you follow me on LinkedIn or on Instagram, then you'll be able to attend our live sessions. And this is where we just have an hour of conversation about different topics in HR, different topics about you as an employee and how you can make your journey more fulfilling. Please join us on that. Now let's get started. This is Career Growth with Karen. So you have been in this job for a couple of years, you've been earning just the same salary, and you feel that it is time for you to earn more. And this is not just because you need more money, guys, but it is also because you feel that the value you're giving to this organization deserves more money. Maybe you haven't had a salary review in the last 5 years, and each of those years you've been having your role expanded and expanded, you're taking on more responsibilities, etc. So you feel that it is time to have this conversation with your boss. And this happens where you love your job. You already love your job, so you don't have a problem with your job. The environment is not toxic, but it is just the money that you need a little bit more of. So how do you go about having this conversation with your manager? Now, first of all, salary conversations, you have them with your manager, not HR. There are people who go to HR and you're telling HR to add your salary. How? HR is also an employee just like you. They also want a higher salary just like you. And they're also figuring out how to have a conversation about a pay rise. So guys, your hiring manager is your everything. That's like your CEO. If you want increased salary, increased benefits, the first point of contact is your line manager. If they think they need to bring HR in, they are the ones who will do it, but they are the ones who need to present your case either to HR or to the management or to CEO or whomever needs to listen. So this conversation is the type that you'll have with your line manager. If you have a bad relationship with your manager, I am so sorry. They are the only ones that can help you in such a conversation. So how do you begin? I would say number one, handle the foundation, handle the preliminaries. And what do I mean by that? By the time you want to ask for a pay rise, number one, you must be a stellar performer. So make sure your performance is on fleek. You cannot even think about a pay rise if your performance is bad, because we are just going to tell you, look, now your performance is wanting and you're even asking for more pay. We'll just tell you, okay, maybe you should exit so that we can actually give that more pay to somebody who is more deserving. So number one, make sure your performance record is on fleek. For the past several years, you need to have a track record of good performance, and evidence for that, if you have a performance management process, that will help because it records your performance conversations through the years, or whatever it is. Just make sure you are a stellar performer. And number two, you are constantly exceeding expectations. Last year you exceedingly exceeded your expectations. The other year the same thing happened. You have been going beyond. You have been upskilling yourself. Over the past 5 years, we can look back and we can see, oh, you have done this certification, you have done this professional course, you have attended these seminars and these workshops, and ideally you have been adding to your knowledge and adding to your qualifications throughout the years. So that is what I mean by handling the foundation. If you know you are not a stellar performer, If you know you haven't been upskilling, the way you were in 2015 is the way you are now in terms of skills, don't even bother going into this conversation. I am so sorry. So you know what the foundations are. Now let's assume these foundations are checking out. You are a good performer, you have been upskilling, you have been taking more responsibilities, you've been going beyond your scope of work in your organization. Now, how do you start doing this, having this conversation? Of course, you have to prepare. So how do you prepare? You research on the quantity or the value that you want to attach to your job. You have to research, you have to find out. For example, maybe I'm a senior HR officer, and I want to ask for a pay rise. I need to find out what is the value that I can attach to this role. And remember, you're already in this organization, so you are working within the context of your organization, and you're looking at what is realistic and what is how far can I go within my organization, not out there. I can't start saying I'm a HR manager here and I'm being paid 100,000, and the HR manager at company X is being paid 500,000. I think I need to be paid 500. No, because that's a different company. Whatever is happening there is happening there, but for you, you're negotiating for where you are. So you need to understand the context of your organization and attach a value to your job. Now, for you to be able to do this, number one, you need to understand your pay structure. And because you're already in this organization, this is information that you can get. You can ask for it from anyone. For example, if I'm a HR manager, I can ask somebody, how much what is the salary structure in this organization? What is the pay range for a HR manager? Now, most organizations will have a salary structure where they say for a HR manager role, we will pay between 100,000 to 200,000, or 100,000 to 170,000. And maybe, so that is the minimum and the maximum of that pay band called manager. As a manager in this organization, the pay band moves from 100,000 to 170,000. Now, we could be all, as managers in this organization, we fall somewhere in within this range of 100 to 170. Now, let's assume for me, I'm being paid 120,000. So I'm within the range of HR manager. I'm being paid 120. Do you know the only scope of negotiation I have is between that 120 to 170, because 170 is the maximum of this pay band. It's the maximum of my pay band. There is no manager that is paid above 170. So I can only negotiate between 120 and 170. And that will help me attach a value. I will maybe say, now that I'm at 120, I want to be moved maybe to at least 150 or 160, and I can go with that value or that figure to my hiring manager. Remember, if you don't understand the salary structure of your organization, you will sound quite ridiculous, because can you imagine if the maximum of my level, of my grade level, is 170, and I'm going to negotiate for a pay rise, and I'm telling them, please, I think I should be paid 270. Do you see how ridiculous I sound? Because I'm way above the range. I am way above the range. And the only way to get me to 270 is to promote me to the next grade level. Now, remember, if promotion is what you're looking for, it's a very different conversation. And we had an episode about how to go about getting the promotion. A promotion is a very different conversation, and how you position that is different from how you position a pay rise. So for here, I'm talking about the pay rise. And for a pay rise, it has to be within the salary structure. So get to ask, even go to your HR and tell them, how do our pay bands look like? What does our salary structure look like? What's the minimum and the maximum of my pay band? And then get to know what is the room within which you can ask for this salary increment, and have a figure that you can attach to it. And then my other point was for you to understand whether you're asking for a promotion or a pay rise, which I have just explained. So when you look at the salary structures, you will understand, if I'm asking for something that is within my pay band, then that's a pay rise. But if I'm asking for something that is way beyond my pay band, then that is a promotion. And when you're asking for promotion, don't mix promotion with money. Just go in and ask, I want promotion to the next level. Because automatically, if you're promoted, it will definitely come with the salary for the new position. But if you're not asking for promotion and you're asking for pay rise, be very clear that you have just this little room to dance around. Now, the other thing you need to do is you need to attach this salary increment to a certain value or contribution that you're giving. Why do we need to give you that pay rise? Remember, you need a business case. Most people call it a business case. What is the case for you getting that pay rise? And how do you get the case? By attaching a value or contribution. What is it that I have been doing that warrants the pay rise. So how do you go about this? Identify the value that you're bringing to the organization that is beyond what you're being paid for. Because already I'm paying you for the work that you're doing. So I can't give you a pay rise for the same work that you're doing. The only way we can have this conversation is if you're bringing in more value. For example, I'm in HR, but I'm the one assisting doing company events. I'm the one assisting customer experience team. I am doing automations that we hadn't thought of. I am bringing new processes that we hadn't thought of. I am starting new products that we hadn't thought of. I'm innovative and all of that. I'm literally going over and above what my job description is asking me. This kind of value or this kind of contribution is what will give you the pay rise. For example, if I'm in consulting and for the past 3 years you've been sending me on consulting engagements, and from the same client I've been bringing downstream work, I've been coming back with 2 or 3 or 4 contracts more to the work that I was given. Remember, my job is not sales. My job is just to go there and do consulting. But because of my consulting, I've gone over and above, and I'm now even bringing in more revenue because I'm bringing in more contracts. You see, that is value or contribution that you're bringing in, and you can peg that to the salary increment. You can also talk about now the upskilling. I have gone back to school. I've done a degree. I have also done this professional certification. So I am a more competent person than I was 2 years ago. And all those things can come together and make the case for why we need to pay you more. So make sure that you have a very strong business case. And this is not where you bring in your problems, guys. I have had so many people coming to negotiate for a pay rise, and all they're telling you is, now I have 4 children and 3 of them have now gotten into high school. You know how expensive the boarding schools are. There is one who is a special needs child, and now, I need to pay for them in this special education school. Don't come in with your needs. Don't come in with your parents who have cancer. As unfortunate as that is, your organization has nothing to do with your personal life, and it is not obligated to be helping you pay bills in your personal life. Your personal life, it's for you to manage it. Because if we were all to come with our problems, can you imagine? You would come with this, the other one would come with this, the other one would come with this, and would be giving pay rise to everyone. So your job has nothing to do with what's happening in your personal life. For you, you're thinking about your value and your contribution to this job, and that is what is warranting a pay rise for you. So be very cautious. Also, don't come with the tears. Guys, do you know, this is so funny, but I have actually been in conversations where you're coming to HR and you're crying about how miserable things are for you guys. A salary conversation is an empowering conversation. You're coming to negotiate, and when you come to negotiate, you want to come in as a strong party. You're coming as a strong party and bringing your cards on the table for us to negotiate. So don't come with the tears, guys. Don't feel less. Don't feel weak. This is a very empowering conversation. You're coming to tell us your worth. You're coming to tell us your value. You're coming to tell us your contribution. So have this conversation from a position of power. Empower yourself to actually have this kind of a conversation. And then remember to practice your pitch. This is a pitch. It's like you're going to pitch to a client. So put this together, this whole conversation about the business case, about your value and contribution, about your upskilling, about your experience and qualifications that have grown. Bring this all together and practice your pitch. Know which points are the main points and practice that pitch. Yeah, practice it before you go into a negotiating. I once made a mistake. One of the mistakes that I made earlier in my career, I went to negotiate a pay rise and I hadn't practiced my pitch. I didn't even know the value that I wanted. Do you know? I just knew I don't want to be paid what I'm being paid. I want an increment, but I don't know what kind of an increment, like what is the value that I am now quoting. So a figure was thrown at me in that meeting. A figure was thrown at me, and I just accepted that figure because I didn't know whether it was good or bad. All I knew is that it was an increment. But when I left that room, I felt like, no, I should have asked for this. I felt like I hadn't presented myself well in that negotiation. I allowed the other party to come with all the facts and figures. And for me, all I did was present myself without any evidence, any case, any pitch. So guys, you need to prepare for that conversation, prepare for the pitch, practice it at home. If you have a spouse or siblings or somebody you live with, have this speech with them so that they hear you out and they can tell you whether it's convincing or not convincing, and you can be able to tighten it before you go for that conversation. And then Be bold to ask for what you want. If you have put together a good case, be bold enough to ask for what you want. Most of us are so scared. Your bosses are people. HR are people. All these people you're working with, they're just people. So get the confidence within you to actually just ask for what you want. And remember, you're not asking for the sake of it. You're asking because there is value you're bringing, there is contribution you're bringing, you're an asset to the team. So don't be scared. You're already an asset. Yeah. So when you're having this conversation, be very bold and very confident to do it. And remember, nobody will do it for you. The ones who ask for things are the ones who get. And Gadoni came on this platform a few months ago and she said, you miss out on 100% of the opportunities you don't ask for. So notice that when you ask for the opportunity, it gives you the chance, to win at it or not. But again, remember, it's willing buyer, willing seller. It's a negotiation. So the salary, the pay rise could be accepted or not accepted. In any case, realize that you have nothing to lose, because the worst that will happen is that you'll be told, no, we are not giving you a salary increment. In which case, status quo is maintained. So you don't lose anything by asking. Now, when you go into this negotiation, that is bringing me to the next point. You could be told, no, we are not going to add your pay because this and this and this and that. Remember, salary is not the only thing you can negotiate. Remember our conversation about benefits. You can also negotiate on benefits. So maybe you're asking for this pay rise and you're not being given. You can go ahead and tell your boss, all I want is for me to be able to do a PMP certification, or all I want is for me to be able to do my CFA. So is there room for the organization to pay for my CFA? Because if they can pay for you, the cash doesn't have to come to your pocket. But if they can pay for you, it's still a win. A win is a win. It's still a win. Yeah. You gotta ask for some of these things. For example, maybe you are struggling with finances because of the medical situation in your home. How about you ask your line manager, is there room that our insurer can can extend this insurance to a dependent who is not necessarily my child, but it is my biological child, but it is somebody that is under my care. If I provide proof that I am taking care of this person who is my brother's child who was orphaned, but I have adopted them as my own child, can they extend this medical benefit to them? Remember, if this benefit can be extended to them and you are just grappling with a medical issue, the money does not have to come into your pocket. You can use that medical card to go and sort out those other expenses that you need to sort in terms of medical for the person that you're thinking about. So not all is lost when you hear the answer no about salaries. Always try to negotiate it any other way. Maybe you can even negotiate for a flexible working arrangement. How about if I work 2 days from home or 3 days from home and then 2 days from the office? What does that do to you? It also saves you the cost of commute, and especially where you're commuting a long distance. Some of you are using, and especially in Kenya right now with the current fuel prices, you're using 1,000 a day to just commute to and fro from your working place. So if you're given 3 days to work from home per week, you can imagine that means every week you're saving 3,000 into your disposable income, and that still could translate into a pay rise, in as much as it's not an actual pay rise, but it is money that you're saving because you have negotiated your working arrangements. So don't just have the conversation revolve around the salary itself, the basic pay alone. Think about allowances, think about benefits, think about working arrangements, think about all those things that can still enable you to come out of this conversation with a win. Hence the reason why you need to prepare for this speech and prepare for whichever direction it will take. If it's a yes, well and good. If it's a no, how do I negotiate for other things? And then have a contingency plan. You may actually get a yes or a no. Have a contingency plan. How do I move on from a no? Remember, some people go into this conversation hoping for the best, being very optimistic, but when they get there, they get a no. So how do you move on? Remember, there's a reason as to why you're asking for this pay rise. It's not coming from nowhere. Perhaps you're just feeling unfulfilled or dissatisfied with the fact that you're giving too much into this organization and you don't feel well appreciated. You don't feel like the pay is commensurate to the effort that you're giving. So you need to ask yourself, how will I move on from this? Because the situation is still there, it's still persisting. So how will you move on from that, in as much as you've been told no and no? You need to figure out, is my next step to start job seeking, to start looking for another opportunity that will give me what I need? Is my next step to maybe ask for a promotion or to start setting myself up for a promotion? What should be my next step? So have a contingency plan in case the conversation doesn't go as planned. There's some organizations that are also antagonistic to this kind of conversations. When you go in and you're asking for a pay rise, they treat you with suspicion. They start to see, why are they asking for a pay rise? And they almost want to manage you out. So at that point, you want to make sure that you have options. You have other places that you can go to. You have places that you can hope to. And this conversation does not leave you in a worse off position that you were previously. Ladies and gentlemen, that brings me to the end of my content today. I don't know how. I would like to hear from you in the comment section. Please tell us, have you gone through a salary increment conversation, a pay rise conversation? How did it go? Where did you get the nerve to do it? Please tell us how you psyched yourself up and gave yourself the nerve to do the conversation. What went well? What went wrong? We would like to learn from all the experiences that you will share in the comment section below. Please subscribe to this channel, like the content, share the content, leave a comment below, and please be sure to follow me on my social media platforms, Career Growth with Karen in Instagram and TikTok, and Karen Olege on Facebook and LinkedIn. We will have a LinkedIn live tomorrow and an Instagram live. So please follow me on either of those platforms and make sure at 8 p.m. East Africa time, you are there with us for 1 hour of engagement, and let's talk about the many things that we need to talk about, and you can ask questions and we can reflect together. Until next time, bye-bye.